So a few days ago, as we all know, James Harden got traded from Houston to Brooklyn for a deal mainly surrounding around Caris LeVert and picks. I'm not going to go into the other teams involved in the trade other than Brooklyn, but this is an overview of what I think about the James Harden to Brooklyn trade. I feel like everybody has a different opinion on the trade, so for that reason I'm not going to give a right-out answer if it was a bad trade for the Nets to make, but I'm going to be going over why you would believe either side, if it was good or bad. First, I just want to say that I'm not going to start going over why Kyrie was gone from the team and if that influences deal. I'm going to go over what they gave up for who they received. So they gave up Caris LeVert and I believe 4 first-round picks and 4 first-round pick swaps, and that basically secures Houston's future picks-wise because, as we know, Caris was traded for Victor Oladipo. But I just want to say that specifically targeting James Harden wasn't necessarily good or bad. It was just risky. I hate when everybody says there's only one ball response for this trade specifically because, yes, all 3 of these players are particularly on-ball players, but we have seen a lot of ball movement from James Harden to OKC, and KD was in a situation on Golden State where he also had to play off-ball. The thing about KD is that he can score in every single way on the basketball court. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that as long as KD is on the floor, he's going to get his stats. So the off-ball movement concern is not as prominent with KD as it is with Harden and Kyrie. But just because I said Harden played off-ball in OKC does not mean we know how good he can be off-ball, specifically on this Brooklyn team. But after Harden's first game in Brooklyn, which was on the day of me recording this, he showed he's an excellent playmaker. A lot of people only look at the stats will tell you that Harden's led the league in assists, did not watch the games. Harden had a similar passing tendency to Russ, where he was just so good in the paint that it usually meant an open kick out to PJ Tucker in the corners or an open shooter. But what we saw was real playmaking. KD has also shown that he's willing to give up the ball, but all this isn't saying that Kyrie isn't a good playmaker. I'm just kind of trying to state that he's not as willing to pass the ball as James and KD have shown. It's also obvious that star players like these need to make sacrifices in order to succeed. That was the case for the 08 Celtics, the Heatles, and even in Golden State. It just did not show up on the stat sheet for Clay because he was just that good off ball. But usually one player needs to make a sacrifice in order to keep the team in contention. And I believe the best player for that would be James Harden. A lot of this I'm going to explain in the next segment of the video, but I do believe James Harden is the best player to sacrifice for success on this team. I don't see it being KD as he just did that on Golden State, and that was some of the reason I believe he wanted to go to Brooklyn, and I don't think it should be Kyrie because he doesn't have the off-ball background and a few other things I believe Harden can do that Kyrie can't. But overall, I think this trade was risky in both positive and negative ways, and the pressure could either make a diamond or break it, mainly because the situation really hasn't ever been seen in the NBA before, and I don't think anyone really knows exactly what's going to happen. So there's a few reasons why I believe the trade ends up working out. Mainly the best case scenario is that Harden adapts to the role of a primary playmaker and is able to play off ball just like he did in OKC. And after the first game, it was clear that he can move off ball, but he needs to go deeper into that role. As you can see on some plays, he would do what he did in Houston, where he would stand there and wait to get back on defense, which I gotta mention he did play with effort on the defensive side of the ball. Or he would just wait for the ball to ISO. But if he does sacrifice some of his scoring, plays more off ball, and becomes a primary playmaker, I think that would be good for this team. No matter what the case is, I'm not too worried about how KD is going to fit in. But for Kyrie, I think he assumes the role of the sort of secondary ball handler, where, as I said earlier, he isn't necessarily a bad playmaker, so him drawing some attention in the paint could leave Joe Harris open. So I believe that could be really deadly for this team in particular. KD could obviously just stick to what he does with pull-up jumpers and stuff like that. Also, I feel like a reason this trade could work out is if DeAndre Jordan snaps out of his mini slump he's been in, and he can become more of a lob threat for the team, if he's still capable of doing so. I think him and pretty much any of the big 3 on this team could be a deadly pick-and-roll combo, but this is all only if he does snap out of his slump, so God willing, because there's been times this season where they can't even play him, but at this point, you would need to play him because they don't even have Jared Allen anymore. There is a chance that this trade doesn't work out. Like if Harden can't play consistently off ball and starts demanding more touches, I can see it being a butterfly effect of just bad on and off the court issues because we all know that James Harden has been problematic in the past while playing with star players. And all those players had a career low in usage rates just because the offense was running through James Harden. So if James demands more touches, I could see Kyrie not being too happy with that. And less touches for everybody also means less touches for Joe Harris, which I don't see being a positive, considering that Joe Harris is an amazing spot-up shooter. He's also a lot more than that, though. People don't really understand that he can do a lot of things on the court. And also, if DeAndre really starts to show his age and remains like how he's playing right now, and they don't make a trade for a better center, I could just see the team falling apart. Maybe they could put together a trade for Bismack Biyombo or Daniel Tice, a big center, a good defensive center, for like a package surrounding Landry Shamet. But, overall, you just never know what's going to happen. So with all this together and putting away the if it all goes right mentality, where do I see this team going this season? So you look at a lot of the seeding predictions of other people, you're going to often see the Nets will be number one just because of their potent offense. But I see this team being a 2nd to 3rd seed only because it is their first year. I can't see them being a better team record-wise than the Bucks because we've been shown that the Bucks can be one of the greatest teams in recent history in regards to the regular season. I think the thing about the Bucks in the regular season is that they just have such a good defense. And they added Drew Holiday, so the defense will just be so potent. And they still have offensive tools with Giannis and Chris Middleton. We can discuss all day if KD is better than Giannis or vice versa. But I think overall the Bucks have more tools than the Nets. And that makes me think that the Bucks will be a better regular season team than the Nets. Because the Nets are going to have to go along with the season and try to figure it out when the Bucks already have it worked out. I don't think it will happen, but I could see the Celtics being better than the Nets regular season-wise because they have improved since last season, and they also have it figured out. Jaylen Brown is getting better. We're also expecting Jason Tatum to take a jump into superstardom, and they've got Tristan Thompson as a big for the team. They also drafted Peyton Pritchard out of Oregon, and they added some depth with Jeff Teague, so I can see the Nets being a 2 to 3 seed in the East. Now, when we're talking about the playoffs, it's really unknown to put together a solid prediction, but I think the Nets are one of the teams that would have a better chance, I think, of getting beaten out by a lower seed first round, only because they haven't been together long, but just because I believe they have a better chance than a lot of the other teams doesn't mean I think it's going to happen. I'm almost sure the Nets will make it past the first round and face a team like the Celtics, Heat, or 76ers in the second round, and against all of these teams, I think it would be a Nets win. A Celtics series, I could see going 6 or 7. A Heat series, probably, again, 6 or 7. But I see a 76ers series going 5 or 6 games. Just because I don't think the Sixers have a personnel that could stop the Nets. But overall, I do see them in the conference finals against Milwaukee. So that was my take on the James Harden trade and what I think it could do for the Nets. I want to hear everybody's takes on the situation, so if you want to do that, I read all comments. The spot will be down below in the description. If you like this channel, you can hit the subscribe button if you want, and if you enjoyed the video, you can hit the like button down below. And if you want to continue to see my videos in your sub box and you like videos like this, I'll be here to supply them. And if you do hit the bell button, what that does is it notifies you every time I upload, and my Instagram should be in the description as well as at the end of the video. Stay tuned for more uploads from me in the future, and thanks for watching.